Good morning. Welcome to Tuesday. I'm awake this day, anyhow. Um, I just read a story about some Republican said that he wants to use the 25th Amendment to ban Biden from running because he's too old. And well, although I do agree with there's an age problem there, um, I don't believe the 25th Amendment is going to do any good there. But if he gets to do that, then we ought to be able to use that amendment to ban Trump for being too friggin' crazy. You know, I'm still when I say crazy, I'm still amazed that there's people out there like Marjorie Taylor Greene and others that are just absolutely batshit nuts that are running around. Um, Saying all these crazy things and to help Trump. Excuse me, I'm sorry. To save Trump, and I'm saying to myself, how can these people get elected? And I've been saying this over and over and over again, and I just don't understand this, you know. And a friend of mine brought up the fact that he said, look, uh, people are so fed up with this. You got to remember when this started up that the problem was the government wasn't doing jack shit, and it still isn't really. Now because the parties don't let anything get done, they just sit around and want to bullshit all day long. So that's part of the problem as to why people are going towards an alternative such as Trump. They thought he was crazy enough. I think they think that they'll wake up the rest of the government. They don't understand is, or if they do, and they just don't care, give a shit. You know, is what's going to happen. In my opinion, what's going to happen is if he gets elected, is that you're looking at repression of women's rights. You're looking at destruction of the social security system. You're looking at us ending up with being an ally of Russia, maybe, quite possibly ending up in a war because people will see us as weak and splintered. Although in the past, when people have thought that and we've gone to war or attacked us, we've come back very, very strong and united. But this time I'm not so sure. Uh, he's got these what the hell are they called? The truthers or something they were called. These guys were ex-military and military trained. I don't know what their record was in the military, but we know that the Latin gangs put men in the military for training purposes. We know that other people do the same thing to train these people. Political activists are doing it. The far right are doing it. They're not giving lie detector tests when you when you go to enlist. You're just, hey, how are you? What's going on? You've been in jail? No, okay, come on, let's go. You know, and they're in. It wasn't much different when I was getting drafted. I mean, they took you if you could walk. You were pretty much going to get drafted. Unless you had a few dollars to spend on doctor's notes and stuff like this, then maybe you could get out of it. But I think you're going to see that. I think you're going to see all kinds of militias and stuff in the streets. I think you're going to see a secret police, similar to the KGB or whatever they're calling themselves, FSB. I think they call themselves now. I don't know what it stands for, and I have a guess, but I'm not sure. A disbandment of the law enforcement agencies and having them replaced by military, not military, but almost private security firms working for Trump. You know, And if they're dumb enough to grant him full immunity, you'll see public executions. All right, because he can order them, he can do them himself if he wants to, and nobody can touch him if he gets full immunity. And that's a disgusting thought. I don't know if that's truly a direction that he'll go in, but I do know that he's unhinged. And that's just him. And there's all these other far right or left or whatever you want to call them, whack jobs in the wings. You know, you have the Marjorie Taylor Greens. You have the what's his name? The Speaker of the House, Jordan. You have others whose names aren't that familiar with you that are writing all this propaganda in the background and are researching it and saying, well, yeah, this will work because the people want this. What people? This country's always been governed by a minority. You know, it's never been, you get elected by a majority, but you're governed by a minority. That make any sense to you? You got a few hundred people telling 350 million people or whatever we have here what to do and when to do it. You know, and that's what people are. Right, you know, people are going back to like right before the Civil War. There was a lot of with slavery was coming with the states' rights, what the states had the right to do and what the federal government could do, and now they're doing the same thing. You know, they're states are banning things that were national programs for a long time. You know, they tell us, Florida tells us what we can and cannot read. They go absolutely batshit with that. You know, I don't know whether that'll ever change. You know, Florida's a lot different than when I was growing up. It was where the Jews went to retire. You know, Miami. Now Miami's got a whole section called Little Cuba. It has still has a reputation for being a drug capital. All the people hang out down there, you know, all the wannabes. It's like LA, it's the same thing out there. You know, that's the West Coast version. Miami's the West Coast version of LA, the hip hop generation. And that's where they had the hip hop wars of West Coast versus East Coast and versus New York hip hop. I don't know. I don't understand that. I'm not really into that style of music. Besides being constantly into classic rock, I'm currently into reggae again. Always loved Bob Marley. Anyhow, getting back to what I'm saying here is the fascination is that people listen to this stuff. They know it's a lie. Look how people agree with Trump that the election was stolen. Over 4 years ago, okay, this election wasn't stolen. He was beaten. And what he's basically building up to the fact that no matter what happens in this election, he's not going to lose. Even if he has to cause a civil war. Because if he loses this election, I guarantee you in 6 months he'll be in jail. Guaranteed, if he's still alive. If he doesn't have a heart attack and die from eating cheeseburgers or whatever. But anyhow, this is Tuesday. The week's ahead of us, and I'm sure more shit will happen, and we'll be discussing more. I'll be out here doing my ranting and conversations and what have you. Yes, Lucy's fine. She's perky. She's okay. It's going to take another couple of weeks before I know the results of the biopsy, and then we'll see what happens from that point on. All right, have a good day. I'll see you tomorrow.